wait for her before we call to order. And she's recording. It's now 3 o'clock. It's now 3 o'clock, so I'll call this meeting of the Public Library to order. We have just one regret, Mike, and I'll ask for a disclosure of any pecuniary interest. None. And has everyone had a chance to look over the agenda? And I will hereby resolve that the Meaford Public Board agenda of Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 be adopted as circulating, including any items added. And can I have a mover and a seconder? Nancy and Lloyd. And has everyone had an opportunity to look over the minutes of the January 19th meeting? Is there any changes or questions? If not, I'll recommend that the Meaford Public Library Board adopt the meeting minutes of the Meaford Public Library Board regular meeting held Wednesday, January 19, 2020, having been circulated to all members. And can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Yes.
I think Ross and Harley.
Ross and Harley. Please forgive me, the screen's a little bit away, so it takes me a minute to see, look up and see who's.
Sorry about that.
Okay. And I can do the adoption of the in-camera meetings now as well, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And has everyone able to look over the minutes of the in-camera meeting from January 12th?
Kim, can I just
Yeah.
ask a quick question if we should be voting on all of these? Accepting all of the motions? You have
Oh, carried.
seconders and motioners. We should be voting on them all?
Oh, then we have to say carried, sorry.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry. So we just have to say carried after the seconder?
Yep.
Okay,
And then they
sorry.
are-
You want to go back? We can go
No,
back.
no, that's fine. Just, yeah.
Okay. Bear with me. This is my first. Okay, so we make a recommendation that the Meaford Public Library Board adopt the in-camera meetings of the in-camera meeting held January 12, 2022, having been circulated to all members. And can I have a mover and a seconder?
Lloyd and Nancy.
Lloyd and Nancy. And all in favor?
There you go.
Carried. And has everyone had the opportunity to look over the in-camera meeting minutes of the January 19th meeting? Be it hereby resolved that the Meaford Public Library Board adopt the in-camera minutes from the in-camera meeting held January 19th, 2022, having been circulated to all members. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Frank? And Harry? And all in favor? Carried? Okay. We'll move on to item number 5, business arriving from the minutes. And this time I'll turn it over to Lynn to give us the library service update.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming virtually. Hopefully our last one for a while, virtual meeting, pardon me. I just wanted to, I hope everybody got a chance to, I did run the statistics, the annual statistics in January. And has everyone had a chance to look at the active membership chart?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were gonna blow the roof off of it. We're only up a few hundred, but then again, it's a rolling average. you lose some at the other end that do expire. But you can see that we are very active, even with our neighbors. The Blue Mountains memberships have increased from 2020. Lots of people coming from our neighbors in Blue Mountains to use our facilities as well. Grey Highlands, the non-residents have really scrambled up. A lot of times there are people that come back yearly. They have cottages up here and or campgrounds, KOAs, that type of thing, and they come back every year and or they might use us for 1 week and we won't see them ever again. But so the non-resident numbers have gone up as well. So happy to see that we've got a really good demographics, a good mix of Grey County and beyond that use our facility. And yeah, I think I'm going to have to order some new cards very soon. We're burning through them. And yeah, does anyone have any questions on the active membership? Yeah, Ross?
Just make a point. I did the math, and the growth, year-to-year growth from 20 to 21 is right on par with our 4-year growth over the census period, 7.45%, something like that. Yeah. So I think it's like reflective of real growth in the municipality.
Yes. Yeah. It's people use the facility, and obviously the e-resources are quite well used as well. We might have people that take out cards, and if you look at their circulation history, it's 0, but they take 10 books a week off of Overdrive. So, I mean, we're used physically and virtually. So it's wonderful to see the statistics. And also I wanted to mention that the collection is up, the general collection, the inventory is up 2,000 from last year. Because we weeded when we moved, we did a massive weed, and I was also able at that time, because we were closed for at least 2 months because of COVID, do a full inventory of the collection. And a lot of times when you do an inventory, you realize a lot of stuff's in the catalog, but it's not on the shelf. So that's why when we moved, it really looked like we had taken a hit in our catalog. But it's growing again, and we will make use of our capital budget for that now that the budget's passed, and get into the stacks and get those numbers up. So thank you so much. So I wanted to just mention about that, and the getting over to the actual library services update. We've had a shifting of staff. Ashley Tressler is now doing the community outreach coordinator position, just filling in until Amy Selecki gets back from maternity leave at the end of August. And she's really come out of the gate great, and thinking of some fantastic programming in the near future. You'll see in our March events. And Chantal Highfield has attended her very first OLA Super Conference last week. It was virtual, but she really was excited about it, and she's going to be sharing her report with at our staff library team meeting next week. We are really looking forward to the restrictions easing that Rob will get into shortly. We really want our in-house programming to start again, and get story time in-house, get it off of the virtual story time. So we're really looking forward to that. And I just also wanted to mention that we have hard copies for the public of the official plan and the Meaford Hall strategic planning survey as well. So if anyone is watching, they can come here and grab a hard copy of the survey to fill in. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth. And we're going to move on to the Meaford Public Library Strategic Planning Subcommittee update, and I will turn that over to Lloyd and Frank.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing much to report at this point. We took a bit of a hiatus just because of the change in leadership at the library. And so we've regathered, and I think we have a meeting planned next week, the week after, Lynn?
The 23rd at 1:30.
23rd at 1:30. So we'll be hoping to get back on track I think at this stage, really, we're looking to go over all of the responses that we had from all of the user groups. We contacted 30 plus organizations just prior to Christmas, and we'll go over what responses we got. The idea was to contact them and figure out means of getting them involved in the surveys, whether it was digital, whether it was Zoom, whether it was in-person meetings, all of the above, and it was their preference. We simply want to get in touch with them all. So we'll summarize that, and I think there was some planning that had started just before Kathy left, but some organizations had indicated their preferences. So we'll go over that again, and hopefully by the end of the month, we'll start contacting people and running our surveys and trying to gather as much information and input as we can. That's about all I have. Anything else, Frank?
No, I don't have anything. I attended some of the super conference, and they had a presentation by the Burlington Public Library, and they have a thing called Values and Actions. And so they have their core values, and they have scheduled a note to be what they looked like and what they sounded like and what they're not. And they use them as a human resources development thing in their library, and people address the public using these values all the time. It's just scripted that they use all these values, and they say these things and they do these things because of their values. So everything comes through that. So it may be useful.
Interesting. Yeah, we did notice. I mean, the one thing that's been lacking in all of the strategic plans were value statements for the Meaford Public Library, and so we're hoping to draw those together and some examples and some recommendations for what those might be. But the idea of implementing them on a staff level basis is interesting.
It is, yeah, it is. So I'm excited to explore those things.
Very good. That's all I have.
And I could further add that I've made a webpage for our strategic planning. So that's ready to go live at any minute. So maybe we can discuss that at our meeting next week, and we can decide, any surveys and things like that we'd like to share with the public, so we can keep this exciting process transparent. So that will be available under the About Us tab of our website.
Excellent.
Thank you, Lloyd and Frank. We look forward to hearing more from you after your meeting. We'll move
Nancy's
on to
hand up.
item.
Kim,
Sorry?
Nancy's hand's up there.
Oh, sorry, Nancy.
That's okay. That's okay. I have a question for Frank. Can you give us, is it easy to give us an example of the Burlington, one of the values, and what that would look like in terms of implementing by the staff? Just an example.
Well, my memory's not all that good, but I have the files. But one of them was collaboration. And so they would say, okay, what does collaboration look like? And so they would have lists of things that you do to collaborate, and then what it sounds like, how you say it. And then the key was what it's not. And then they'd actually say, these are the things you would not do if you're collaborative when you're dealing with your public. Yeah, it's very prescriptive, but it seems very inclusive as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Frank or Lloyd? Okay. Sorry about that, Nancy. We'll move on to number 6, the treasurer's report. And has everyone had an opportunity to look over the financial report? And does anyone have any questions or any comments on them? All right. Well, be it hereby resolved that the Meaford Public Library Board adopt the pay sheets for payment as submitted by the treasurer for the, do I need to say that?
If you'd like, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
For $16,979.07. And can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Lloyd and Nancy? And is everyone in agreement? That's carried. And we'll go on to item number 7, correspondence. And at this point, I am going to turn this over to Rob to talk about.
Thank you, through the chair. The correspondence that I'm familiar with is we had a couple of letters that did come to the board in relation to the appointment of the board, of myself as CEO. There's some that one is still unresponded to, and we will be reviewing something in camera, and then a response will go out following the in-camera discussion in relation to that. So I don't think there's anything else that I need to add with regard to those at this point in time.
And any public questions? I guess we don't have anyone
No,
on.
there was
so
nothing,
we
no.
will pass that, and we'll go on to reports and matters table. And the first one is the chair's report. And I honestly, I'm going to speak to you more on the Ontario Library Service part and about the boot camp at the OLA Super Conference. And I'd just like to comment, I was in the library last evening and I saw Ashley working on, I believe it's called the Random Acts of Kindness.
Yeah.
That the library and the town are collaborating on, which is wonderful to see that collaboration in our community. And just thought that that was a really neat thing to do right now, that we could all use a little kindness in our lives. And then I'm going to turn back to Rob and Lynn for the CEO and the staff reports.
Thank you, Kim. I'll start, and then I'll turn it over to Lynn to go through the actual team report that's prepared by her and the team. Just a few things for me. Obviously, this is my first meeting speaking to the board as the CEO, and basically the last few weeks have been really myself working very closely with Lynn on understanding a bit of the practices that they've been doing. And also very important, I have been meeting individually with staff and talking to them about just who I am and giving them some sort of comfort level of myself and my values, which are very important to the staff, and what I represent is important to the Meaford and also to the library, and the importance of the library in the community. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to, I had a discussion with Lloyd last week in relation to the agreement as directed by the chair at the last meeting. And we did go through that, but also we had a discussion with regard to the strategic planning exercise, and I'm very excited to be engaged in that as a planner. That's what we love to do. We love to do strategic plans. So I'm really looking forward to be engaged in that process and doing that. Had a meeting. I'd like to update the board a bit. The municipality is currently finalizing our update to our development charges background study. The board would be maybe aware that a lot of this new facility that we're in is funded by development charges, because you're allowed to collect from new development to expand services to deal with growth. So a number of the development charges went towards that. And so as we collect development charges going forward, a lot will go to that. But this new entity of ebooks is new to the development charge world, and typically you could increase the volume of your books by collecting development charges, and they're trying to understand whether e-learning, the ebooks, can be charged for that. And the discussion I had at 1:00 today with our consultant doing the study said that it is new. They believe that it can be, so we might be able to offset some of our cost in increasing our ebooks to new development, and not on the off the library budget and the municipal operating budget in that regard. So we're always looking for great funding opportunities that offset the tax base. So it's good to report on that. I think that's really all I have at this point in time, and I'll just turn it back over to Lynn, who can take you through the staff update.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Rob, I was remiss there. I have to admit, I'm trying to follow along here and being my first meeting, I'm like, oh. Anyway, I would like to welcome you to as our CEO, our new CEO, and let you know, we look forward to working with you, the library board, and this is exciting times, and we're traveling into new relationships, and I think this is going to be a good one down, and I hope that you enjoy, and we look forward to working with you, Rob.
Thank you.
Sorry, Dan.
Oh, hi. All right, thank you. I just want to summarize some of the fantastic points of our library team report from January. We did receive, and they've hit the shelf, ready to go out. We've received 3-day parking permit passes from Ontario Parks. And these are to be loaned for 1 week, no renewals allowed, but it allows people to park for free at over 100 Ontario parks located throughout Ontario. So in the record, in our catalog record, I actually have a link to Parks Locator. So anyone that takes it out can just hit that link. It's also on our website to find, I think there's 149 parks throughout Ontario. So if somebody wants to go swimming at, Craig Leith Provincial Park for the day, they can grab one of these parking passes and park there for free. And, Bruce National Park, Wasaga Beach, all sorts of wonderful places that you might want to drive for the day to swim, or even in the winter, snowshoe. So anyway, those 3 parking passes, and each passes goes from January 1st to December 31st. And they're worth $225. And so they've given us 3 of them. So I'm really excited to get those in the collection. And I hope they're used. I got excited. Our first book club kit that were sponsored by the Friends of the Meaford Library was loaned out. So yay. So it was for somebody who was doing a home book club. So she was really excited to have this little kit to take, and with questions and discussion questions. So she was really excited about that. So so we partnered in January with the municipality Parks and Rec in the Do You Want to Build a Snowman contest. I don't know if you follow us on social media. People would take a picture of their snow person that they've built and load it up on the social media account. So that was really fun. People got really crafty. Some people used paint. They painted their snowmen and all sorts of really wonderful creations out there. It makes a dull winter a lot of fun. Grey County Reads is still going on, and our books are all out. So I think we've got a lot of participants from our patrons who are eagerly reading those books. Just wanted to mention as well that I attended a Rotary Club meeting, Meaford meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they had an author talk, and so we've booked that author for I'm not sure, I think it's sometime in April, who's speaking on mental health and depression. So he was it was an interesting talk, so glad to share it, to be able to share it with our patrons in the future. So I just wanted to mention on the stats, the e-library downloads were a lot larger in 2021 than 2022, but I think that's the reason, because we were closed last January, totally closed. So I think that had a lot to do with a lot of people didn't want to use curbside, so they just relied on the Overdrive and Hoopla to download the ebooks. So hope those days are behind us. There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. And onto the Ontario Library Service Report would be myself. And I did attend the board boot camp at the OLA Super Conference on Saturday. And there was, it was actually quite a long day. It started at 8 o'clock and went till 4:30. So learned all sorts of interesting things. One of the things that stuck out in the one session, and all of the sessions had a overall thought of equitable and inclusive. And those are the bywords, I think, of the conference this year. And there was an actual session on running equitable and inclusive board meetings. And one of the things that was discussed at length was the land acknowledgement statements and how it's no longer acceptable to just have a land acknowledgement statement alone, that there is a need to include a call to action in that statement as well. The action statement should encourage us to familiarize ourselves with the treaties and Indigenous peoples recognized in our land statement. And further went on to say that it's very important to learn how to pronounce the Indigenous names and places and to learn about the treaties of this that relate to this land. So it's just something for thought. I know we've just came up with our land acknowledgement statement, but so maybe we need to keep working on that and not just pat ourselves on the back and say we've done a good job, that there is ongoing work on that. Another interesting little fact that come up with it was that the job of the chair of your library board is to facilitate meetings and not take over. And they described it as a leadership as a servant. So I've made a little note of that for me going forward as a vice chair. And another focus that came up was on building the municipal library board relationships and to link library strategic plans to your municipal strategic plans, and to develop good working relationships, especially your CEO with municipal directors. So I think we're already way ahead on that. We can check all those boxes quickly. And it said we should work together with our municipality to develop orientation and education and relationship management to let new council know and inform them of the existing relationships and connections between the library board and the municipality. And that will be most important in the coming year. And it was also discussed at length how library staff have a very unique skill set, and it is an enhancement to our communities. And it's a space to, and our libraries tend to be a space to celebrate social cohesion. And as a board, we need to be cooperative and collaborative with our municipality, with our library members and staff. And that one of the ways we can help connect with our council is to email newsletters or quarterly document to keep them apprised of what we're doing and what's happening. And that you need to always acknowledge council's participation and support, and that our multi-sectorial partnerships are crucial. And again, I think we're ahead because we've created a new one, having Rob as our CEO, and that there's always an opportunity for innovation. And again, I think we're doing that. And that we need to always, and this maybe goes to, as Frank said, if we have a value statement, to keep in mind who we serve and what our mandate is as a library board. So after that long, that's what I'm bringing you back from the library conference. And that is all I have at the moment. So we'll move on to the members of council report, and Ross or Hurley.
That was outstanding. Thank you.
Well, Lady Chair, I can begin. We did meet on Monday afternoon, virtually again. I had three presentations actually before we got into the business part of the agenda. Fine folks from the Meaford Cultural Foundation, a group that has been with us now for, I think, 20 some years, and has done amazing things around Meaford Hall. I think it's safe to say that Meaford Hall would not be the same building without the support of the Culture Foundation over the years. An interesting delegation from local snowmobile club, and with an interesting request. The snowmobilers, although they have a very good trail system established, still have to, on occasion, get out on the road to link up with the trail. And at times they're finding that our snowplow operators are doing just too good a job at keeping the shoulders of the road cleared off. The sleds want to run on the shoulders, and sometimes our plow drivers like to wing the snow back as far as possible for obvious reasons. After today's wind and the warm temperatures, I'm not sure what the shoulders will look like. I expect there'll be a lot more brown than white. But anyway, a request to get together, see maybe if something can be arranged in the future for better conditions for our snowmobile friends. And we had a climate change presentation. Leslie Lewis from the local climate change group ran a few things past us, and there is a lot of interest, as there should be, in our world and in our changing world of climate activities. We passed officially, I think this will be the last time we see the 2022 budget and user pay budget. We finalized that. Also, the fees and charges for various programs and services and facility rentals in the municipality. Let's see. Oh, our communication strategy, and this is something that has had a lot of work, as it should, and we're certainly hoping, and I think fairly confident, that we finally have a communication strategy that is going to reach out and serve hopefully all of our residents, certainly the vast majority. So that was passed. And a couple of notices of motion. One that our mayor Clumpus actually suggested. Now, she did not bring this forward because she is the mayor, but she did spearhead I notice a motion to hopefully establish a family health team in our municipality. This has been inspired by our new doctor, Dr. Rakowski, who plans to conduct his practice out of the former Gardner Wilson Funeral Home. And he's hoping that this can be more than just a doctor's office. The family health team would involve potentially nurse practitioners, physical therapists, dietitians, psychologists, mental health therapists, quite a good group of important and much needed professionals that could certainly play a role in the future of our municipality. Now, there was one more item on the agenda that got, I think, the most discussion of anything, and I'm going to leave that for Councillor Kettner, because this is his area, and Ross, you'll tell us about the paid parking, I'm sure.
Okay, well, I can speak to that quickly. We were looking at, in committee of the whole, at proposed exemptions to paid parking in the harbor area, because there are a lot of reasons why you don't want to charge parking, for example, and puncture things like the rotary fish fry, or perhaps the Friends of the Library, raising money on a Sunday evening concert, things like that. Anyway, so I think that got some of the people who voted previously in favor of paid parking at the harbor and at David Johnson Park, wondering, if the candle is going to be worth the burning. And I think that it boils down to that. And I've had strong feeling all along that, because don't forget, I worked in Owen Sound all the time, and I saw council there always retreating from parking meters and things like that. And I just think that we're in a four-season tourist area, and we need people coming here and spending their money. And the less they spend on parking, the more they will have to spend with our merchants. And I can't understand why some of the merchants are clamoring for the paid parking as well. But anyway, they reversed their decision. And I, for one, appreciate the change of heart. And just a quick comment on the communications report. One of the things we hear a lot about in politics and in communications is tone deafness. And I think it's possible to have tone deafness in initiating communication as well as it is in receiving. And I just think that one of the things the report speaks to is explaining why we're doing things, and in a very friendly, neighborly way, rather than coming down like, we're your boss and this is what we're telling you. You know what I mean? And I think that I'm seeing changes on our website, the municipal website, that tell me that there's a lot of work going into trying to implement the new communications policy, and I think that's very good. Thanks.
Thank you, Harley and Ross. We'll move on to the Friends of the Meaford Library report, and we'll turn over to Christine.
Hi there. I don't really have a report. We aren't doing too much right now, but we are looking forward to getting back, and hopefully this year we'll be able to start right at May 24th weekend. So that's about it for now. We'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Christine. And for the Owen Sound and North Grey Union Public Library update, we'll turn to Frank.
Okay. Last meeting, I spoke about the Union Library Service Agreement. It has been approved by the municipalities of Owen Sound, Chatsworth, and Georgian Bluffs. It's a 10-year agreement. It began January 1st, 2022. It lasts for 10 years. And there's a new funding formula. The first 10 years, the fixed rate is based on a ratio equal to the average percentage for each of the municipalities over the preceding 5 years. So they've got a fixed cost based on the last 5 years from 2017. And so Owen Sound pays 59.8%, Georgian Bluffs 22%, Chatsworth 9.9%, and Meaford is 8.3%. And we've been about 8.3% consistently for quite some time. And then in the middle of those 10 years, at the 5-year mark, they will readjust those amounts. They also have a 4% ceiling that they cannot go beyond without the municipalities approving that. And in our agreement with our service agreement is a 3% ceiling. So a bit of change. We haven't renegotiated it. And then Owen Sound cover the capital costs. And if you will remember about our service agreement, we do not add to we don't pay into the capital costs. And so that may decrease the amount we pay as well. And of course, remember that in our agreement, we have a 3-year rolling average. And so again, when we go to the point of renegotiating that, we'll have to consider these things. But the basis for those changes were they wanted to promote library membership. The Owen Sound Library membership is in decline, and they want to get it back to where it was. And by doing this, with the 3-year rolling average, it appeared that the more people you had with library cards, the more you pay from your municipality. And that sort of prevented many people from actually getting a card because they didn't want to add to the costs of their municipality. And this way, they're able to promote the library without making people concerned about being an extra cost for extra membership. The other thing they did was they developed an open card. And so the open card gives a membership to Tom Thompson Gallery and the Harbor Museum. And so by doing this, they have built their membership, because the membership for each of those organizations is now pooled. So their membership grew. And so they're hoping that that will promote the culture in Owen Sound as well as the library. So that's interesting results there. And I did go to the super conference thanks to the Owen Sound Library. They gave me a pass to go there, and I spent 5 days there, and it was wonderful. So I have lots of things I can share with you as we go along through the rest of the year.
Excellent, Frank. Thank you. And we'll look forward to you sharing with us all the great things you learned there. And just on that note, it is something, and I don't know how many of our existing library board members will continue on, but it is certainly a great forum to learn and discuss library issues and to get new strategies and ideas and ways of looking at things. So I certainly encourage anyone who can to attend it. We'll move on to item 10, new business, and that brings us to the municipal service agreement. And again, I will turn this over to Rob, and just want to say that this, if the board approves, this will go to council on the 28th. Is that correct, Rob?
Yes.
And
through
be
the chair.
effective March 1st, right?
That's correct. That's what we're proposing, if we can come to an agreement at this point in time, and we'll, as we go through this right now. Yes.
Okay. And also just a little side note, Lloyd has also was involved and looked over this previously as well. So we've had his input, which is great. Okay, Rob?
Yeah, so just to, yes, thanks to Lloyd for assisting in the review. I will also note that the agreement was sent on to the municipal solicitor, who reviewed it both on behalf of the municipality and the board to make sure that it was all, that what we were doing was legal, because I know that has been one of the questions that we can all get I'll further clarify and provide to the committee, or sorry, the board in camera. But before you was a draft agreement, I will note that when the lawyer did make some modifications to it, I think there were some sections added which threw off the numbering as it related to cross-referencing. That has been updated in the copy that I have that will go forward. So basically, just highlight some of the things. It speaks to the percentage of my involvement with the library. It speaks to roles and responsibilities, and in particular, if we get into a position where either I'm on holidays and there needs to be an acting CEO, that automatically will become the manager, Lynn, in this regard. And then the lawyer also added, if we ever get into an issue of conflict, then Lynn can step in and be the CEO for that purpose, because with me being the CEO and the CEO, although I'm not bound by the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, it's only board members and council members that are, because we're only advisory to those particular bodies. We don't make decisions. There can be the perception of conflict, and sometimes I'll just have to have regard for that. So it just has provisions in that, and I thought that was a good catch by the solicitor in that regard. I guess I'll just stop there. It was circulated. I know that Lloyd has some additional things he would like the board to have a discussion about, which I think is great in considering this, and we can talk through those, and I can turn it back over to the chair, who can turn it over to the board for questions.
And we'll open it up to the board with any questions. Or Lloyd, would you like to start?
Sure. Just a couple things. One is I want to thank Rob for letting me make some of the comments that I did and to go through the document. I think the very first version definitely lacked reference to the board. I think that a lot of the changes that were made from the first draft to the version you're seeing now were directed at making sure that the document is a board and municipal document, that the CEO is responsible to the board first and foremost. And even though, the position has a CAO component to it, that is pretty much secondary. The agreement was to make sure that the board was getting a CEO to the fullest of the Library Act. So those changes, I think they all went through, which was really good. It came down to, I think there was one last thing that Rob made reference to that I'd like the board to talk about. And I know we talked about it at one of our previous, it might have been in-camera sessions, I'm not sure. And I don't think this is an in-camera issue, so I'm going to bring it up anyway. But if you were to look at item number 16, and it deals with the idea of terminating the agreement. And it reads, the board and the municipality hereby agree that either party to this service agreement may terminate the agreement at the end of any calendar year by providing written notice of its intention by September 30th of the year in question. And I know, or at least if my memory serves me right, a lot of the discussion was around giving the municipal, the council, some leeway and in terms of planning to change the funding. So if we were going to cancel the agreement, then they've got from September through till the January for the new budget to come up with the changes that would be necessary to go back to the previous salaries and the budget assignments. My question and my concern is it kind of limits us to end of year canceling, period. And I mean, and if we were, and I know there's a million scenarios, but I mean, throw out a scenario and come the end of January of next year, Rob decides he's going to go to a different job. And so I know I don't want to use you, but the other scenario would be you being hit by a bus, and I didn't want to use that one. So, but anyway,
winning the lottery.
Or winning the lottery. That's right. There we go. We'll go with that one. Rob wins the lottery next January, end of January, and decides to leave and retire. The way I interpret this is we are now obligated to run through till the end of the year before we would be able to replace him. Well, not replace him, because a CEO could come in and the board could accept them, but make the change from having the CAO as the CEO to going back to having an unique CEO. At least that's the way I interpret it. And so I'm wondering if there's some way we can have some adjustment so that if that were to happen, we definitely want to give the council time to make their final changes or make changes for an upcoming year's budget. But at the same time, I don't think we want to find ourselves 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months away from being able to make a change to an actual standalone CEO. Rob, please.
Yeah, no, I think it's good discussion because it's good to understand all the implications. I think in speaking to this agreement, it's to be very clear that this is agreement between the board and the municipality as it relates to me personally. So if I am no longer the CEO or CAO and CEO by virtue, then this agreement's null and void. And the board, and that's clause 18.
It is in there, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
where
there.
it speaks that I'm no longer, then really,
Yeah.
you guys the board can figure out their direction, I can figure out my direction. So speaking to that aspect, I think that's a date I'm responsible, based on, I don't have any problem saying this, I'm responsible to give the municipality 4 months, unless it's based on matters out of my control, those things you don't want to talk about, but I have to give 4 months notice to the municipality in terminating my employment, whether, And really, to be honest with you, if it's by choice, my only time I'm going to be leaving is through retirement. I told council that I'm here to the end of my career, and because I'm committed to this community. So that covers off that. The other is just, I guess, for financial planning for both the municipality, because obviously at the end of the day, we're both responsible for taxpayer money, and if we get into a situation where one of the parties decides to terminate it, and it could be the council that decides to terminate it as well, that we don't want to jeopardize and properly plan, I guess, for the financial implications. If I leave, then it'll have to be figured out, and that can be factored into the changeover in the CEO position. So just responding to that, I don't know if that addresses those concerns.
So I think it addresses half. I think it addresses the half that are that relate to you, and I you're right. I missed clause number 18. The other scenario becomes one, and again, I don't envision this in the least, but if January 30th of 2023, the board decided that they weren't happy with the job you were doing and didn't want to have you as the CEO anymore, then we're committed to doing, what do we, we're stuck till September of that year before we can say we would like to make a change.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just looking at the scenarios. I don't envision it, but I just being stuck to one time of the year where the board can make this choice. I'm a little uncomfortable with, but I don't know. What does everybody else think? I'm just one person.
I think you're making valid point, Lloyd. Yeah, makes sense to me. That seems that yeah. I mean, I'm sure that everything will go along just fine, but
Me
you
too.
never know. All kinds of things could happen, and yeah, the once a year doesn't seem quite right.
Yes. So, yeah, we Matt and I actually talked today about that particular item and how it could be dealt. And one of the things we suggested potentially could be added into the agreement is that almost like under extenuating circumstances, so the board, and it's where both parties agree. So if the board says we don't want to do it anymore and council says that's fine, then maybe we put a 90-day clause in. But what I think we need to do is subject to figuring out that it's not going to have an adverse financial impact within that period. We probably can be figured out through various means, because we're not talking about a lot of funds that probably do it. So I would offer up that as a potential additional provision in there, added on in 16, that said under extenuating circumstances that we could do it. I don't know if that would address the concern that you have raised. And
my take on this is that we're getting involved in a wonderful collaborative relationship here, and of course we have an agreement, and it seems adversarial, but in fact this is not adversarial, right? We're doing this for our community, and our community needs a library. Libraries build great communities, so I don't think that terrible scenario would happen. I think we could solve the problem. The other thing I noticed, and Rob, you mentioned that when the lawyers saw it, they changed some facts, and so there's some clauses that do not relate. They relate to a clause that they aren't supposed to relate to. I suppose you saw that, so that's going to get changed.
yeah, I've already updated those, Frank.
Okay, yeah, that's clause 12 and 14 and 5 and 6. Yeah, I'm a detail guy.
Ross, you had something?
Yeah, through the chair, I just, there isn't any question that the community is looking over our shoulder on this, and with good reason. And so I think it behooves us to just take a little extra time and see if the the legal beagles are able to craft something that would just give us that ability to make a decision very quickly, because if I recall the initial discussions in both the library board and council revolved around if for some reason this isn't working, we really need to be able to exit. And in the public interest, in either event, no matter who is initiating it. So the public interest is something to be concerned about, and I think that surely we can get a clause that offers an alternative. This is perhaps the main scenario. However, alternatively, if if one or other party wishes to exit the agreement on an expeditious basis, this is how it would be done. Something like that.
Rob?
Yeah, so I obviously we were hoping to keep this get in place for March 1st. And I think if this is the only issue, what I would suggest to the board as a potential is someone to move an amendment to the recommendation that the Meaford Public Board authorizes the chair and CEO to execute a municipal service agreement dealing in terms and conditions for appointment of the CEO, subject to an additional clause that provides an extenuating circumstance exit within 90 days. And then we can have the legal figure, as long as that's going to be captured and based on the discussion, then we can figure out the wording and just continue on with this process and have the final wording in front of council on the 28th, if that works for the board.
Christine, I think you had your hand up as well before we, no? Okay. So if I can follow Rob on this, you may have to help me. Oh, sorry, Carly.
Thanks, Kim. Under the heading CEO role, I may be getting pretty picky here because I'm talking about juggling numbers. But when I read through this, it starts off with number 5, number 6, and so on and so forth. To me, CEO role of the library, I thought numbers 7 and 8 should preclude 5 and 6. 5 and 6, to me, are emphasizing the CAO. And Rob, I'm not trying to be negative about our CAO, but they start in with the CAO, et cetera, et cetera. 7 and 8 talk about the CEO of the library. And to me, that's the most important part of when it comes to the board membership. And as I say, I just thought the numbers should have been juggled a bit. And to me, I thought 7 and 8 should come out of the starting gate first, as opposed to 5 or 6. Now that's not going to change the overall diction of the agreement, but that was just my personal opinion that I wanted to see the CEO part first and foremost, and then we bring in the advantages of having the CAO in that position. It's just my opinion, Lady Chair.
Rob?
Yeah, through the chair, if that's the wish, I don't see that everything's there, and what if the board would like that, and basically what I'm hearing 7 and 8 to be proceed 5 and 6. I'll just have to make sure there's no cross references that need to be adjusted.
just my personal feeling. I'm not sure if the board sees it my way or not. But, I did want to mention that.
Yeah, if I can add, Harley, I think that was key in my mind when Rob and I were talking about the earlier versions of this agreement, was making sure that it was a CEO, board of the library number 1. And that's probably something we missed. I'm trying to remember, we also took a quick look at the job descriptions, and I thought in one of these documents, there was a statement that explicitly said, or maybe it was from another agreement I was reading, but in the last week, there was a statement that said that the effect of was the order in which these statements are made has no relevance, and that they all are equivalent and of equivalent importance, and yada yada yada. At the same time, I'm like you, I start reading, I want the most important stuff to me at the beginning, and it follows through. So yeah, I'm total agreement. I like the idea of having this CEO centric or library centric, and the rest is is for the municipality.
Anyone have anything further? Yes, Ross?
Through the chair, I just, I don't know why, but I am a little bit confused about under the paragraph on financial conditions, 12 and 14. I just didn't understand how that would work or what the intent is there. So the board is going to include a payroll charge paid to the municipality for the proportionate share of the CAO salary. And then in 14, the board also can reallocate those funds as they wish. Can you explain what that's about?
Yeah, that's probably one of those cross-reference problems through the chair.
Yeah,
It is.
So
that's what it is.
number 12 speaks to a portion of my salary will be applied to the board, and that's not applicable. What 13 says is speaks to additional 600 hours.
Yeah.
And then 14, what it says is that the board doesn't have to hire another person for 600 hours. They can actually use that funds for a different purpose. So it actually is applicable to 13, not 12.
So that needs to be fixed in the document.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, is there, yes, Rob?
No, I was just going to say I sort of spoke to an amendment. So I think from a procedure point of view, just ask someone to move and second the amendment to the recommendation to include the provisions that I spoke of, and then to have someone move the fully amended one, I guess.
Okay, so help me along with this.
Okay.
I am going to, should I read the actual one here? Or just recommend that we accept the municipal service agreement with the amendments that the board would like to see, subject to
An additional
lost
clause.
in what we have done here. We want to have the CEO role amended so that items 7 and 8 proceed 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And that item,
An amendment be made to item 16
amendment be made to item 16.
to include a clause, and carry on, Rob.
Yeah, to include a termination clause under extenuating circumstances that would allow a 90-day termination.
Anything else I need to include in that? No, and can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Frank?
Yeah.
And Lloyd? And all in favor? It's carried.
Oh, I'm glad it's being recorded.
And I am sorry, I just did not want to say the wrong thing there for the amending this,
Recommendation.
and have it come out. Okay,
So, okay.
so with that, Rob, I assume that will go back to the lawyer to be amended, or to the municipality?
Yeah, we will amend the agreement. We will provide an amended clean copy so that the board can see it for your reference, and then we'll go on to council for the 28th.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I'm then I'm gonna give a minute here. Lynn is busy getting all of that
Oh.
down.
That's okay. I'll follow the recording after.
And I'm going to turn back to her for the upcoming events.
Hello. Yeah, the upcoming events in March, it is, hopefully we're back to in-house programming. I'm sure we will be by March 1st. But March is all about finances and income taxes. We're partnering with the CRA for not only our CVITP, which is our Community Volunteer Income Tax Program, which starts March and which will run March and April. That's the free tax filing service for people with modest incomes that we partner with CRA. We've got actually 3 volunteers working this year with the public, as opposed to the 2 that we've had. We've had another volunteer come on board. So it's extremely busy. The phone rings off the hook with people making appointments to have their taxes done. So that will start on March 1st. But we've also partnered with another branch of the Canadian Revenue Agency. And so they'll be presenting some webinars on with all about filing your taxes and all about important webinars on answering people's financial questions. March 1st will be COVID-19 related tax benefits. March 8th would be persons with disabilities presentation. And March 15 is a seniors presentation. They don't know exactly the one that they're doing yet, so it's to be announced. And March 29th is scams, what you should know about online scams. So this will be available on our website with people can register, and we'll send them the Zoom link before the presentations. But I think that's really exciting. Another thing that we really, I think is really exciting is there's going to be a planning for post-secondary school presentation with the Credit Counseling Society. They do, we've been partnering with them for a few months now, and once a month they do, once again, a finance presentation on Zoom as well. And that month will be it's planning for post-secondary. It's great for parents who want to, especially new parents who might want to start planning for the financial needs of their young children so that they can attend post-secondary school. So I think that'll be the first time we've ever had something like that. It's something that they don't teach in school, that's for sure. So I think that one will be really interesting. That one's March 30th at 6 p.m. Yeah, so, and we also have a full lineup for March break. So that'll be posted on our website right after this meeting as well. So things will be in-house. Maybe we can use the fire pit. It'll be a lot of fun. So thank you.
And on to item 10C, which is signing authority. Mike is rescinding his signing authority, and we will add myself and Rob with Lynn. So I'd like to make a recommendation that it be it hereby resolved that the Meaford Public Library Board rescind previous signing authorities and hereby appoint Kim Grafton, Lynn Fasnato, and Library CEO Rob Armstrong as signing authorities, and for the library CEO to notify the banking institution. And can I have a mover and a seconder for that?
And I if I want to interject, I think that should be Mike and Kim.
Mike and Kim?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mike, Kim, and Rob Armstrong.
Sorry.
No problem.
And can I have a mover and a seconder for that? It's Lloyd and Nancy. And all in favor? That's carried. And that brings us to our in-camera session.
All right, so what we'll do, if everybody could leave this session, and our Chantel is carrying this on at the other end, so she'll keep it live on our YouTube channel, and everyone can log in to the separate link that I sent. We'll see you on the other end.
See you on the other side.
Yes.
Okay, do I need to do the resolution to go in
Hello. Oh, she still has it on closed session. Okay. So I don't think we're live yet. Get a chance to do that.
Rob was gonna, yeah, sorry, Rob was gonna make no. Oh, that's the one coming out of, sorry.
That was going in.
And sorry, yeah.
We forgot to do the going into the in-camera session.
Right.
Shall we do it now before we're live?
They said that.
You already are live.
We can't go back. Okay.
Everybody heard that? We're reading off Frank? No, there's Frank.
I think we're all back.
Mhm.
Good.
Have everybody back?
Yep.
Okay, and we'll come out of camera and resume our meeting. And I'd like to report that the board received legal opinion on the appointment of Rob Armstrong as CEO of the Meaford Public Library, and that it is legal. And at this point, we'll go into item 12, and it is our roundtable discussion. So I'll open the floor to anyone who has anything they'd like to discuss. Nobody have anything today? Everybody wants to. Yes, Lord?
Sorry, Kim. Just one question. I know the board had talked about so the service agreement, but then also the agreement with the municipality. Is there any word on when that would start or
So,
in terms of the building and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it'd be good for
Motion,
it'd be good for the board
MOU.
Yeah.
to be aware that actually, when I started down this road of creating an agreement, it actually included both matters, but it became too convoluted and too so I decided to pull back and just focus on the CEO role at this point in time. I will
Okay.
now start working on the draft service agreement, probably very similar to the one that was a good starting point was the Town of Blue Mountains one, because they probably have one of the more current ones that was done. The relationship, because both related to the building, but also related to those services that the library uses, such as HR services and financial services and things like that. So we'll and IT services. So we'll start working on that agreement.
Great. Terrific.
And I believe the policies and bylaws people have to get together and develop job descriptions because they'd be out of date now.
Yeah, we've started, Lynn and I have started working on those. So yeah, if that separate group should probably take a look at that before our next meeting then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Ross?
Yes, through you, Kim, as chair, I just thought when we are all together here, Rob, maybe you would give us a bit of an update on at least two matters. We've talked about our strategic plan, but we know that the Meaford Hall has a strategic plan exercise underway, and I think there's an event today and more coming up. And I think there's 5 stakeholders or groups that are being, approached for their input, and also just a bit of an update on the official plan review as well. COVID has held everything up so badly, but I just wondered if you could. It looks like things are going to go ahead quite quickly now, and maybe you'd update us on each of those.
Yeah, so the other cornerstone of the community when it relates to culture and our Meaford Hall and Cultural Center is also updating their strategic plan. There's been a questionnaire out. The library itself has been assisting in those who wanted to participate in the survey. There's some focus group meetings. There was one in relation to the actual foundation. There's one through some of the service clubs yesterday. Who did meet. There's the open session this evening as we develop it. That's being developed in-house by staff. That strategic plan is being done that way. With regard to the official plan, quite an extensive consultation process being undertaken with some very innovative methods of consultation. One of the things when we hired my predecessor, Rob Voigt, to take on the development and planning director role, was my working with him over the years in leading public consultation with regard and doing it in a meaningful way. Planners historically have been known to consult based on the statutory requirements, but it hasn't really been meaningful. And he's very good at leading that meaningful consultation in doing it in ways that really is going to really pull good results from the community as we lead into the official plan process. I can think back to when we did updates before with the official plan. We didn't have anybody show up at all. And we know there's great community interest in it this year. So it's to make sure that it happens in a format. So that's just ongoing.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
One thing that I think when you asked me to speak about correspondence and also in my update that I missed was something I just sent to the board that came from the Ontario Library Service. And that's just a bit of an update. We know that things reopen to the next stage tomorrow, which really doesn't change anything what the library is doing right now. And then as of March 1st, there's no capacity limitations. They're lifted, as well as the vaccine passport requirement for the meeting room rentals is lifted. So those will be gone. One thing it did say that actually we at the municipality have been looking for some direction on, but so we saw that coming from the Ontario Library Service, is that masking will still be required for now. That there'll be further information coming forward in that. So I meant to highlight that, but it was an oversight on my part.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Anyone have anything else that they would like to add? I have to thank you all for bearing with me. I will get better at this, hopefully down as we have more opportunities, and look forward to our next meeting, which will, fingers crossed, be in person. And with that in mind, I am going to adjourn this meeting at 4:36, and our next meeting will be held March 16th, 2020 at the library in person. And I look forward to seeing you all there. Have a good evening.
Did Frank have a question? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can let it pass. I'm always getting information about grant opportunities, and there's an Ontario Trillium Foundation Resilient Community Grant available until April the 26th, I think it is. And then there's a Community Foundation Grey Bruce Grant application date about April 15th. Again, how we deal with those kinds of things. Like, I get emails all the time about them, and there are opportunities, but I don't know who in the municipality may be trying to access these grants as well as us. So I don't know how to coordinate that.
Just from the perspective as we work, so thinking back to when I was just with the municipality, we actually subscribe to Public Sector Digest, which provides us all of the funding opportunities collectively across and we review them and discuss them when one would be applicable to the library. So we would review it, and if we see one, we'll bring it to the board. At the same time, we'll look at priorities, and we don't want to compete against each other.
No.
And that. So, but we're always doing that. So, thanks for bringing that up. Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Sorry, I didn't see your hand up there. But thank you. You're always pushing for us to get these grants, and I love that because it's great.
Yeah.
Yes, Nancy?
Wanted to say you did a fine job, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been there. I know it's not easy, although having Lynn helping you right there, that makes such a difference.
Perfect.
In-camera session.
Perfect. All right. Well, if there is nothing further to add, then I will call this meeting to adjourn it at 4:38.
Thank you.